Most people think manipulation is about lying. They're wrong. True manipulation is about becoming the architect of someone else's choices without them ever realizing you're in the room. In the next 10 minutes, we are going to strip away the complex theories and look at the raw, clinical rules used by Kiyotaka Ayano to turn everyone around him into a tool. If you want to stop being a pawn and start being the player, listen closely. This is how you manipulate like him. Part 1. The foundation of the ghost. To manipulate like Ayano, you must first become a ghost in your own life. Most people have an uncontrollable urge to be seen, to be heard, and to be validated. They post their successes, complain about their failures, and wear their emotions on their sleeves. This makes them predictable. It makes them targets. The first step to true manipulation is information asymmetry. You must cultivate a persona that is so average, so unremarkable, that people stop looking for your motives. While they are busy showing the world who they are, you are busy observing who they are. You are collecting data on their insecurities, their pride, and their habits. Manipulation is not a loud act. It is the quiet movement of pieces before the opponent even realizes the game has started. By the time they notice you, it should already be too late. You aren't playing to be the king. You are playing to be the hand that moves the king. Part 2. Weaponizing the silence. Speech is often a sign of weakness. When people are nervous, they talk. When they want to prove themselves, they talk. Silence, however, is a vacuum that people feel the need to fill. In a conversation, the person who speaks less holds the power. When you remain silent after someone speaks, you create a psychological pressure. They will begin to second-guess their own words. They will offer more details, more excuses, and more secrets just to break the tension you've created. This is where you find their levers. Ayano uses silence to audit the room. He isn't just being quiet. He is waiting for the other person to trip over their own ego. Practice holding eye contact and saying nothing for 3 seconds longer than is comfortable. In those 3 seconds, the other person's mask will slip. You don't need to lie to get the truth. You just need to wait for them to hand it to you. Part 3. The architecture of choice. The amateur manipulator tries to force people to do what they want. This leads to resistance, resentment, and eventual failure. The master manipulator makes the person want to do what is required. This is the architecture of choice. You don't tell someone to go to option A instead. You subtly poison option B. You highlight the risks. You create a sense of unease about the alternative. And you frame option A as the only logical, safe path. When the person finally chooses option A, they believe it was their own brilliant idea. Because they think it was their choice, they will work harder to make it succeed. And they will never blame you if things go wrong. You are not a commander. You are a guide who has already decided the destination. This is how you control a room without ever raising your voice. Part 4. The debt of artificial kindness. Human beings are biologically hardwired for reciprocity. When someone does something for us, we feel a heavy, subconscious weight to pay them back. This is the debt of kindness. Ayano understands that a favor is a leash. He performs small, calculated acts of assistance not out of empathy, but to build a library of obligations. When you help someone when they are vulnerable, you aren't just being a good friend. You are securing a future asset. The key is to make your help seem effortless and selfless. If they think you are gaining something, the debt disappears. But if they believe you helped them just because, the debt becomes permanent. Later, when you need a pawn to move in a certain direction, they will follow you, not because they have to, but because their own conscience won't let them say no. Part 5. Emotional anchoring and mirroring. To control a person, you must control the environment of their mind. Most people are emotional reactors. They mirror the energy of the person they are talking to. If you are angry, they get defensive. If you are frantic, they get anxious. By maintaining a cold, steady, and unshakable baseline, you become the anchor in a crisis. People will naturally gravitate toward the person who isn't shaking. This is how you gain leadership without asking for it. Once they look to you for stability, you can begin mirroring them to build a false sense of trust. Use their own words, mirror their body language, and validate their feelings. This creates a short circuit in their brain that makes them feel like you are just like them. Once that trust is established, their guard drops. A person with their guard down is a person who can be moved anywhere you desire. Part 6. The art of the pawn sacrifice. The greatest barrier to manipulation is ego. Most people cannot stand the idea of looking weak, losing an argument, or being underestimated. Ayano Koji has no such weakness. He is perfectly willing to look like a coward, a failure, or a boring student if it serves the end goal. This is the pawn sacrifice. Sometimes, the best way to win a war is to lose a battle on purpose. If you let your opponent win a small argument, they become arrogant. They become sloppy. They stop seeing you as a threat. While they are celebrating their tiny victory, you are moving into position for the checkmate. You must be willing to sacrifice your reputation in the short term to gain absolute control in the long term. Remember, the world only cares about the final result. Who looked cool during the process is irrelevant. Part 7. Identifying the lever, the human core. Every person has a core, a single insecurity, desire, or trauma that drives everything they do. For some, it is the need for praise. For others, it is the fear of being alone. Once you identify a person's core, you no longer need to manipulate them in the traditional sense. You simply provide or threaten the one thing they care about. Ayano Koji watches how people react to stress to find these levers. He sees through the bravado and finds the child underneath who just wants to be noticed. When you know what a person is truly afraid of, you own them. You don't use this power constantly. You keep it in your pocket. Like a master chess player, you only move the piece when it guarantees the win. Part 8. The final realization. People as tools. The final and most difficult step in the Ayano Koji mindset is the total detachment from the concept of friendship as the world defines it. To him, people are not emotional partners. They are tools with specific functions. A hammer is not good or bad. It is simply useful for a nail. When you stop viewing people through the lens of emotion and start viewing them through the lens of utility, the world becomes much clearer. You stop getting angry when people let you down, because you realize you simply used the wrong tool for the job. You remain calm, you remain objective, and you remain focused only on the win condition. This is the dangerous silence. It is the realization that in the end, we are all just pieces on a board, but only one of us is moving the pieces.